Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert following the Bud Light controversy. Well, there was a guy named Robert Lachky who spent 20 years building the reputation of Bud Light, building the brand so that it would ultimately become the #1 beer brand in the United States, worth billions and billions of dollars because of that powerful marketing position and using brilliant marketing techniques and strategies and ad campaigns. And we'll discuss a couple of them to get that breakthrough and to get to be part of people's social relationships. When friends would say, hey, let's get together, I'll bring over the Bud Light. It was an incredibly powerful, successful program, and it worked. This guy spent 20 years of his life doing this, had success, and then once Anheuser-Busch was bought out by a larger company, he left the company because they had a severe cutbacks. He didn't like the management, and the brand went into decline. Now up until the point where they've absolutely destroyed the Bud Light brand, and it's even affecting their other brands. It's not just Bud Light. Other brands related to Anheuser-Busch, because Bud Light is now so hated, have been cut down in sales. And beyond that, the stock just a couple days ago was downgraded by Wall Street analysts who basically are saying, this is not a stock that we can recommend. Instead of suggesting you buy this stock, even though they just recently announced good profits because the time period didn't include the Bud Light problem, but they had good profits. But now this analyst is saying, you better not buy this stock and maybe don't sell the stock, but get away from this company. Don't do business with them right now. That's how bad it is. Let's get into this in more detail. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate you guys. Bud Light sales are tanking. Can Anheuser-Busch recover its core customer base? Well, the answer is, of course they can't, because the association with the brand has gotten so crazy. 2 people were attacked outside a beer shop by homophobes who thought they'd bought Bud Light, the police say. So this is coming from Pink News. It's an LGBT website. But the thing of it is they've just associated the brand with gay people and attacks now. This is how bad it's gotten. That was never what the brand was all about. For years, Budweiser was the king of beers and Anheuser-Busch was the king of marketing. Its commercials on television, radio, and print were the envy of the advertising world. Now, a single promotional initiative gone awry threatens the company's standing as a marketing machine. Bud Light is the top-selling beer in America, but its frothy sales have taken a massive hit in the past month. A short TikTok video by transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney and a single can of beer has brought the once mighty A and B marketing machine crashing to the ground. Quote, it basically was a post from an influencer that got blown very far out of proportion. It has been adopted by a certain section of the country as the calling card for anti-trans support. They're calling to boycott Bud Light, said David Steinman, Vice President and Executive Editor of industry publication Beer Marketers Insights. What David Steinman is missing here is that, first of all, the general public really has had it with all of this social justice agenda pushing in mass media and in products. Bud Light, it had just gone absolutely too far. The other problem here was when it became known that the promotion was going on, it looked like they were changing the Bud Light cans and that it was a mass marketed promotion. That wasn't what the plan was, apparently, but the company never came out and corrected it. They just never bothered to correct the misunderstanding. So customers just got more and more frustrated with it and more disgusted with it. The informal boycott has been successful, slashing the brand's sales by as much as 26% in a single week. If the trend continues, Bud Light could lose its position as the #1 beer in America, said Bump Williams of Bump Williams Consulting, which specializes in the alcoholic beverage industry. Bud Light is definitely going to lose its #1 status if it hasn't already. The summer is a big beer drinking time. We are just getting into that season right now. People are not going to be wanting to be seen with Bud Light cans. It's enough to get you attacked in Canada. In America, people still, why are you going to be seen drinking Bud Light? People don't want that now. What went wrong? Quote, it's self-inflicted, said Robert Lachky, former chief creative officer at Anheuser-Busch. Called one of AdWorld's greatest fixtures by Ad Age magazine, Lachky worked on the What's Up and Frogs campaigns, as well as the iconic Clydesdale ads of the 1990s and 2000s, and, quote, Real Men of Genius, which received more awards than any other radio campaign. It's a complete lack of corporate oversight, and it's been that way since InBev took the company over. That was the acquisition. InBev, a Belgian-based international brewery, bought Anheuser-Busch in 2009 and forced out many executives, including Lachky, and overhauled its marketing staff. Quote, effectively, it took us 20 years to take Bud Light beer to the #1 beer in the country, and it took them 1 week to dismantle it, Lachky said. When you think about this for a second, first of all, with all the resources in the world, all the history in the world, all kinds of marketing support, all kinds of corporate support, to make a brand #1 in an industry like this, really in any industry, but this industry, very competitive. The guy actually accomplishes it. It becomes the work of his career. He leaves the company. That goes on his resume, and now he's a private consultant. Robert Lachky, he's got his own consulting company. And his resume is destroyed now because he's the Bud Light guy. And people know he didn't just do Bud Light, he also did Budweiser commercials, but still, the brand is destroyed. It's a negative association, and it affects his career. Anheuser-Busch was flying high in 1979 when it launched one of the most effective and memorable taglines of all time, quote, "This Bud's for you." That campaign was followed by one hit after another. Three frogs croaking Bud, Wise, and proved to be enduringly popular. A writer at Adweek later called it one of the most iconic alcohol campaigns in advertising history. A campaign featuring friends calling each other and saying, "What's up?" followed and was equally a huge hit. Sales soared. At its peak in 1988, Anheuser-Busch brewed more than 50 million barrels of Bud. And when the brand slipped to #2 in 2001, the beer that surpassed it was Bud Light. Bud Light's current tagline, "Easy to drink, easy to enjoy," was unveiled in February in a commercial that aired during the 2023 Super Bowl. In an earnings call with investors and analysts on Thursday, AB InBev Chief Executive Officer Michelle Ducaris called the tagline a strong message for Bud Light. Perry Drake, who teaches marketing at the University of Missouri St. Louis, disagrees. Quote, "It sounds like a tagline for a nice glass of white wine, if you ask me, not Bud Light," he said. But that is a potential minor misstep compared to the apparent marketing faceplant of working with a transgender influencer. That problem was then compounded by the brand's marketing director, who's now on a leave of absence, insinuating that Bud Light drinkers are all frat boys. The marketing director's remarks were an unforced error, but the idea of appealing to the LGBTQ community was fine and well-intentioned, Drake said. Quote, "I think it was executed really badly. They broke one of the rules of influencer marketing, and that is to make sure your influencer aligns with your customer segment," he said. The mistake shocked him because the marketing people at Anheuser-Busch pride themselves for knowing their customers well and engaging with them, he said. Quote, "If you want to work with the LGBTQ community, there are ways to do that. You could release rainbow-colored cans during Pride Week, and customers could buy them or not, as they choose," Drake said. It's marketing 101 as far as I'm concerned. Pierre-Yvette Alsop teaches a class in inclusive marketing strategies at Washington University. Did you know there was such a thing? She said that the idea of using a transgender influencer to promote Bud Light was smart and forward-thinking, a way to reach new customers. Quote, "If you're trying to reach a new market or an emergent market and you're looking at what's changing in terms of demographics, you should be aware of their value," she said. Appealing to young beer drinkers makes sense from a marketing point of view, she said. But I think the timing may not have been ideal. Reading the room, we as Americans are in a hyper-political period, she said. Alsop cited a 2021 survey by the Bauer Leadership Center at Washington University and RITI, in which 55% of respondents said they paid more attention to the political stance of companies than they did just 1 year before. Generations X, Y, and Z, people born between 1965 and 2012, were especially inclined to look at a brand's values before purchasing. If you're at a bar, you're obviously not looking at a brand's values before purchasing. You just are going to go with what other people are going with, or something that you like, or something that's got a good reputation as being good. You're not looking at what are the brand's values before you're going to buy beer. But let me know what you think of that, please, in the comments below. Getting through the crisis and restoring some of the lost business will require a corporate mea culpa. Quote, "You've got to go out there and say, we don't always get things right, even with the best of intentions. But there's always room for improvement as a company, and we're always learning new things. We want to keep the lines of communication open," Alsop said. Drake at UMSL said he thought it would be best for Anheuser-Busch to keep quiet and let the controversy die out. "The overall impact on the company should be minimal," he said. Oh, maybe it should be, but in the meantime, the stock's been downgraded. The volumes are going down, not just for Bud Light dramatically, as it is just disastrous for Bud Light, but even at the other Anheuser-Busch products, people are searching out products to boycott beyond Bud Light. That's how bad it is. Quote, "In the long term, I think it will be forgotten. It will just be something that will show up when you Google the worst 10 marketing campaigns ever." I don't know if you think it's going to be forgotten. I don't think it's going to be forgotten. This is the first time that there's been this level of pushback. Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, they've seen bad results in projects they've taken on because they've tried to woke up their content too much. It's happened a lot. But none of it was like ultimately destroyed where people would be, say, embarrassed or worried or physically attacked for going and consuming a Disney product. You know, no one would look at them and say, they'd be like, oh, well, whatever. But they're not going to get ostracized and attacked for associating with the brand. But that is how bad it is for Bud Light. But I also do think that part of the problem Bud Light has is there have been other brands that have done things that have upset consumers that don't have the same easy substitution that the Bud Light beer product has. And it'll be interesting because it looks like to me that Bud Light is a response, not just to Bud Light, but to all of the mass push of all the social agenda, social justice stuff. People just don't like it. The people that like it, but the majority of the population obviously does not like it, or there would be no Bud Light boycott. People would be happy to be drinking it, and they'd be begging to buy their Dylan Mulvaney canned Bud Light beers, which I haven't seen any article of anyone saying, hey, I'd love to buy that beer. Where is that product? Would you please mass produce it? No one's asking. Literally, no one is asking for that. I haven't seen it anywhere. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you agree with Robert Lachky that the 20 years spent to build the brand was kind of an amazing accomplishment and it only took a week to destroy it forever? Do you think it'll bounce back? Is this executive right that says, oh, I think just, wait it out over time? The brand is in such trouble. The company is in such trouble. What can they really do about this? Let me know if you have any ideas in the comments below. I'm going to continue to follow this story. I find it fascinating. I want to see how this all turns out. Definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.